Well, High Impact, it is December 4th, and we wanted to put out a video because today is the day of our town hall, and we knew not everybody could be there, but I felt like it was important that we included as many people who attend and who are a part of the Impact family in the information loop as we possibly could. Now, if you've been attending Impact, you know that despite our best efforts, and by best efforts I mean hiring great people, having wonderful volunteers, working on our kids and student ministry, despite all of that, these past 14 months of restarting Impact, we have not been able to generate the growth that we had hoped for, the growth we had prayed, and really worked very hard to see happen. Our reality is our attendance has gone down more than it's gone up, and November's giving was lower than October's. And so as our board met with our district superintendent, we realized that we really only had a couple of options in front of us that made any sense. One of those was that we would sell the property and find a new meeting space, look to start some kind of community-minded, ministry-minded business that hopefully in 2, 3, 4 years would generate the kind of cash flow that could help plant really a new church, a new ministry. The challenge that we all around the table had with that is we didn't really feel like we had the energy, but honestly, it was more about not having the expertise, the tools to really do something along those lines. The second option was to close Impact and allow the district an opportunity to determine the best path forward with the property. And that's the option we chose, even though it is not the option any of us wanted. And we just sat in that moment for a bit. Since then, we've been talking back and forth with the district and making sure that we're going about everything the appropriate way. And so the Wesleyan bylaws were part of the Wesleyan Church, if you didn't know that. The Wesleyan bylaws indicate that our board recommends to the district board that Impact close, and then the district board gets an opportunity to say yes or no to that, and then from there the district board and the local board make a recommendation to our local members. All right, so a long way of saying our local board recommended to the district board that we close, just based on facts and figures and reality. The district board has agreed with that and believes that is the best path forward given the circumstances. And so now that decision moves toward the members of Impact. And so what we're going to do, just to get to the nuts and bolts of that, is conduct a vote with our members. That email will go out about 3 o'clock today, and we would like to complete that voting by 10 p.m. today, because time really isn't on our side, and we just need to close that loop, if you will. Just so you know, this is the same information I'll be sharing in person at our town hall meeting today, but we just knew not everybody could be there and present for that, including some of our members. And so I just wanted to clarify real quickly that a member of Impact is somebody who's gone through the membership class, of course, filled out an application, and currently meets the membership requirements. We have 5 of those. Obviously, somebody who has a relationship with Christ and has been baptized. But more to the point, they're currently serving, they're currently supporting the church financially, and they're currently involved in protecting the unity of this church family. So let me think out a few other things that I think are really important to have as a part of this conversation. And one of those is that as a leadership team, and so, the staff and our board here, in a sense, we've been looking at this as like, yes, it's a vote on whether or not to close, but I think it's really more a chance to end well with a difficult financial picture. We're really trying to do things well. And the only way for us to do that is to close by the end of the calendar year. And the reason for the December date is that we just can't carry the amount of monthly expenses that we have with the facility and payroll and quote unquote end well. And by that I mean pay our bills and be able to do any kind of severance for the staff. We just don't have the funds for that. And I hate that that's the position that we're in. This is an incredibly sad thing to say and to put out there. I think it's a really challenging thing to hear and process. I know it has been for everybody that's been involved. But another side of that, if you will, is that if it wasn't for all your dedication, if it wasn't for all your work, if it wasn't for the tremendous heart that you as a congregation have for God, we wouldn't have experienced a lot of really amazing things over these past 14 months. We have continued to see people come to faith. We've had some baptism services. We've bonded together in prayer and through discipleship, through partnerships that our discipleship team has put together. There've just been some really powerful pieces and moments and spaces in these last 14 months I don't think I would want to trade off. And so as sad as this is, there's also been some really amazing moments. As Rebecca and I have processed this, there's been a lot of sadness, and we had no plans that we would end 22 and a half years of ministry in this way. And I know many of you feel much the same. And I don't know if you're like us, just kind of that humanness of maybe a little anger, a little frustration because we find ourselves in circumstances we didn't want to be in, and then we find ourselves powerless to change them. And nobody likes that feeling. We certainly don't. I think maybe you, like us, might also, though, feel a little relief in knowing where we are and knowing that there's, like, the loose ends are going to get tied up because we've been carrying a heaviness over this season, and all of us have felt the weight of that. And I'm hopeful, and it may take us a minute to get there, but I'm also hopeful that there can be just maybe the beginning of excitement, not because of where we've been or where we are, but because we believe that God has something tomorrow, and He's not done with us, and He's still good, and He has plans for us that this moment hasn't surprised Him by. It just may take a moment to get there. So let me give you what we envision for the next, 2.5, 3 weeks, whatever, that we have together. Wouldn't it be appropriate for us to take the remainder of December and celebrate things that God has done? And it would definitely be appropriate for me and for you to speak blessing over people for what God has next, to pray for clarity in that and anointing. It's like my counselor said the other day when he and I were talking. He says, the church that we're a part of, local churches, are oftentimes pictures of the life that we have in God, where there's life and there's death, but there's also resurrection, and just leaning into the reality of grief, but also knowing that God isn't done. The other thing that we talked about as a staff when we were meeting and just working through some of this is like, let's just do one Christmas Eve service at 4:00, one Christmas Eve service at 4, so we can all be together, like family time. Like, we want to sing and light candles and remember what God has done, and we want to be brought back into the calling that we have to share the good news. And just have a time where the family can gather around and just do all the hugging and encouraging and loving on each other that we can possibly get done in that time that we have together. And then one last thing, because of where we have been financially, we're asking those of you who support Impact financially, would you please do that through December 31st? And the reason I say that is because we obviously want to pay our bills. That's something that's very important. But we really have a heart to bless our staff with some kind of severance. And right now, that's just iffy. And the only way that is going to happen is the people that are a part of the Impact family supporting the ministry up through the end of the year. And just giving our folks time to find new roles wherever that may be. And so that's really all I wanted to bring to you. I wish I had better news, but this is the news that we have. And so I just want to speak blessing over you. And just say thanks. Love you. See you soon.